Welcome to Rauta's Black Metal Reviews. This time we go to Norway just before the year ends, and this one is one of the best ones from year 2024. It's Valdaudr and their second album, Skal Frykte. Now the previous one from year 2021 was one of my favorite albums of year 2021 respectively, and as such I had huge expectations for this second album that now came out about 3 years later. Now, because of high expectations, I won't lie and say this is not exactly a little bit of a disappointment, because this is but very minor one. Let's make it clear since the very beginning before we go on, this is actually a really good album, and even though it's not as good in my opinion as the first album, it's still a damn good one. So definitely going up for my candidate list for year 2024 among the best albums so far. Let's take a look at the band's Metal Archive site while I talk more about this particular band, because it's interesting for a couple of factors. First of all, you might think this is a new band, which is, technically speaking, 2018 and onwards. But as you can see, that is if you're taking a look at this video, this band had their previous version called Cobolt 60 already starting in 2000. Now, that is labeled as Black Thrash Band. Had 2 albums out, 2002 and 2012 respectively, and that ceased to exist in 2018, but then again this was clearly just continued with 2018 as Valdaudr and so forth. Now I wouldn't be so hasty to make exact marks. Now I was saying about quotation marks, we're not talking about quotation marks, but I wouldn't say that they are equally one and the same thing, just with a different name and all. First of all, Valdaudr is not, in my opinion, Black Thrash Act. Calling it a Black Thrash Act is, in my opinion, clearly misleading. Now, because a lot of people are thinking, okay, Black Thrash, we're talking about bands like Or Noir or Destroy 666 and Niflheim and all. There's nothing of it with this one. This is just Norwegian black metal, and I'm saying this in a good way, good fashion and all, but Black Thrash, come on. Probably just someone copy-pasted with the Cobolt 60 page, or didn't even give it a proper listen. We're not gonna start a genre fight here, but this is just one of those things that kind of annoy me, because nowadays people could really say that bands like Bathory could see that's Black Thrash, where it's just first wave of black metal. Whereas Valdaudr is clearly second wave of black metal. This is all reeking of the 90s, and reeking here used in a positive way. So Black Thrash, nope. Black metal, sure. So these guys operate the band called Valdaudr, the successor of Cobolt 60, and as such I think it's a little bit different entity, even though there is the same lineup and all. Now if you take a look at here, it says these guys have a lot of different bands, and only one of them is marked as Cobolt 60 guy. So this is also one of the reasons why you started thinking, is this really exactly the same, and so forth. But we're not going to talk about that. That conversation is saved for hopefully a future interview and all. Is this really the one and the same thing? Too much time wasted on that. Let's talk about how Skal Frykte sounds like. First of all, comes with a rather boring cover. I'm not gonna deny it. The first one had more of a sinister vibe to it and all. This is more like, okay, we didn't have the time or the budget or whatever, or creativity, let's just go with something. But then again, it doesn't really matter when the songs are good, and that's luckily what is happening here throughout 7 tracks, 39 minutes and so forth. So what is this music then again like? Well, first of all, like I said, it's 1990s based black metal with kind of a grim take on it. It's nothing super raw. I mean, we're not talking about the Illiarns and the like here, but then again, nothing of that modern thing or going off-road. You can remove all the adjectives like symphonic or melodic or avant-garde-ish and the like. This is going back to the basics, the square one kind of a thing for Norwegian black metal. So grim, sure. Energetic, yes. Fast-paced, somewhat. Melodic, a little bit here and there. But overall, this is the kind of a basic of Norwegian black metal. You don't have the chaotic presence of, say, Immortal's third album, Battles in the North kind of a thing, but more like let's get a little bit back in the earlier steps in the given genre. You might think there's a little bit Dark Throne-ish, momentum with this, or a little bit Carpathian First kind of a thing, or just the general Nordic black metal feeling, if that rings a bell. But there's nothing modern about it, and I think that's part of the fascination here. Bands like Whoredom Rive have proved that Norway, since the 2000s and so, have been really good and can really be the kind of a bands that bring back the glory, which was lost after, mid or late 90s and early 2000s. There wasn't nothing too much happening. I mean, even some of the already legendary bands were like losing their grasp and going into weird directions. So there was not really that much happening. And 2000s later on proved that, hey, there's this new wave, even if old guys, bringing back the glory, going back to the 1990s feeling with their black metal. And Valdaudr, among bands like Nordivel and Whoredom Rive, are exactly doing that. They are delivering those grim, fierce blows, having their kind of a darker feeling to it. Great vocals, by the way, on this album. I really fucking love them. They're one of the best small percentage on this given album. But what this separates from the first one, I think it had more impact. So this is more like a good successor, but if I really had to pick one of the either of these albums, I would still go for the first one. I cannot really say what is that magical thing that is missing from the second one, which was present with the first ones. So I will go just with the basic explanation. This just doesn't have that great riffs and songs overall which the first one had. Mind you, however, even if I'm comparing these two and being a tiny bit of a negative here, I'm still saying this is a good album. So take this only in comparison rather than anything else. Mind you, there are some cool melodic moments which I want to mention, because I was thinking for throughout these spins, like, what is this band reminding me of? And I really couldn't get it in my head, except towards the end I was like, actually, this reminds me of Old Dismember, which was kind of a weird because there's no death metal vibe to this album. But it was like really clicking. Yeah, this kind of sounds like if Dismember went in a little bit black metal direction, that's how it would sound. And I think it's a great thing, to be honest. So overall, this is one of the better albums from year 2024, and especially when we're talking about the Norwegian black metal for year 2024, and that has been good with bands like Coldbrand and Whoredom Rive doing new albums. But still, Valdaudr is able to climb quite high in the list, so give it a go, and I think you should like it. Links are provided in the description box. Off you go.